Okay, and let's see. Skype has hung up on me. Okay, let's see if we can get in now. Okay, here we go. There we are. Finally, we are. Okay.
Well, it's a close call.
Yeah, it was. I hate Skype.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, April 29th, 2021. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. We have a lot to talk about today. In fact, we're probably going to be a little bit late getting to the phones this afternoon because we have so much to get through. And Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. So let's get right on into it. Last night, Joe Biden finally addressed a joint session of Congress. Quite a few people actually stayed away. The Democrats were all cheering for him, and the Republicans basically just sat that one out. I think the best description of the speech came from Blabber Buzz, where they said Joe Biden's socialist vision for America turns into one big snooze fest. And that's what it was. He failed to sell the idea of his agenda. He failed to sell his policies. He failed to sell himself. He did not come across as presidential or convincing. And even Ted Cruz was struggling to stay awake during the speech and blasted the president's monotone as boring but radical. Kind of an odd little comment to have there. And let's see, another article, headline, this from the National Pulse. Biden's joint address was an unmitigated embarrassment. Here is why. There we are. Joe Biden entered the House of Representatives tonight, a fully grown adult vaccinated man wearing a mask despite the recent CDC guidance on those who've had their shots. Everyone in the chamber had received a vaccine, and theatrics aside, the speech was a huge embarrassment to the United States. But then Joe Biden himself is a huge embarrassment to the United States of America, not just because he is mentally incompetent for the job of president, but because of how he managed to be in that office in the first place. Sky News described it as the leader of the free world is cognitively delinquent. Sky News, another comment, barely able to get through a speech. And Joe Biden's stupidity is now a threat to the West. Nobody's pulling any punches on that one. Now, Vernon Jones had strong words for Biden and the Democrats, saying Joe Crow doesn't even know where his cornfield is. So it was definitely an unmitigated disaster. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly called out Biden over a failure to address the immediate crisis at the border in his speech to Congress. And a noted tax expert, Dan Pilla, is sounding the alarm on the insane tax increases being proposed by the Biden administration. It will destroy incentives to work, incentives to invest. It will send the U.S. further down the socialist rat hole. And no one should be surprised as this is what he ran on. But taxes are going to go up not just for the rich, but for the middle class as well. And it's always going to be that way because there just aren't enough rich people to tax to balance the books. The population of the United States is about 300 million. But there's only really 100 or so billionaires. The rich are a very tiny microscopic part of the population. Another story, this one coming out of Scoopy Web. Biden slammed for divisive and radical speech that may cause a bloodbath for Democrats in 2022. And that is also true. A lot of people are suffering from Biden regret. And he's not showing that the Democratic Party really has any genuine leadership. It's just a bunch of different people with different agendas prattling on and pushing for special privileges. Now, Biden's main selling point was his idea of the American Families Plan. This is a $1.8 trillion with a T to supposedly help families. But if it's anything like the last stimulus, most of it will get siphoned off for special interests. And included in that agenda, he wants to have free school beyond K-12, saying 12 years is no longer enough. I guess they're having difficulty with the indoctrination. And he wants to have 2 years of tuition-free community college education. Well, a lot of states already do that, like California. And he's saying 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. Well, actually, it would be if the schools weren't wasting all their time talking about critical race theory and LGBTQ rights and drag queen story hour. If they were to get back to reading, writing, arithmetic, science, engineering, 12 years would be sufficient to create a trained workforce able to compete with the rest of the world, but we're not going to get that. Probably the dumbest thing that Joe Biden said all night was that he said the Capitol protest on January 6th was the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Well, I don't know. There was Pearl Harbor, of course. There was 9/11, and there was last November's stolen election that I think really were our worst attacks on the democracy. So we'll moving along from that here. Donald Trump next month is going to restart his MAGA rallies. The Make America Great rallies are coming back. And there's a story now that Trump is considering DeSantis as his vice president for his upcoming run in 2024. Unfortunately, a lot of the GOP elites are starting to move away from Trump, and they're pushing Tim Scott as their most likely candidate for 2024. And I can't think of anything that they could do that would help Kamala Harris secure a victory in 2024, because Tim Scott just comes across as tepid. He really, really does. You probably have heard this story already, but federal investigators executed a search warrant yesterday at the Manhattan apartment of Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and personal lawyer to Donald Trump, and they wanted to probe his business dealings with Ukraine. I wish they were that interested in Joe Biden's dealings with Ukraine. Interestingly enough, they took almost everything, but they left behind Giuliani's copies of Hunter Biden's computer hard drives. They took everything else. At the same time, they raided former Trump attorney Victoria Tensing and rifled through her stuff as well. Meanwhile, Ukraine has released a one-hour-long video of a press conference confirming that Joe Biden committed tax evasion in their country, and they're saying they want their money back. And during the press conference, multiple witnesses were interviewed. Bank records were released confirming the information. The bombshell report implicates Joe Biden as an international criminal and that Joe Biden had been under investigation in Ukraine on felony bribery charges. And these allegations apparently are now confirmed. But the federal government is not interested in those things at all. Okay. Interestingly enough, the corporate media is still behaving like the corporate media. USA Today allowed Stacey Abrams to edit the column on the Georgia boycotts that made her look bad. Basically, the column was critical of her, and USA Today basically allowed her to go through and edit the column to reduce the amount of damage. Over at the New York Post, there was a reporter who wrote a false story regarding Kamala Harris. They have now resigned. Tucker Carlson, on his show recently, basically blew the lid off laptop gate, if you will, saying that Hunter Biden was involved in the sexual abuse of minors. Again, except for Tucker Carlson, the corporate media is out there trying to keep this all under wraps, even as they go after Rudy Giuliani. Over at the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt is now out there trying to claim that Tucker Carlson's rhetoric is the reason for the epidemic of mass shootings across America. That's a little bit of a stretch, I would think. An Arizona judge on April 28th, this is about the vote fraud, rejected an attempt by the Arizona Democratic Party to immediately halt the audit of the 2020 election in the state's largest county. And Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Daniel Martin said Democrats did not provide substantive evidence of any breaches or threatened breaches of voter privacy. Now, the Democrats filed this lawsuit just before the audit started last week. It might ultimately succeed, the judge added, but it fell short of the strong likelihood of succeeding required for a temporary restraining order. Martin also expressed doubt that the balance of hardship in the case or public policy favors the plaintiffs, two factors that would be needed to grant the order. So Arizona Democrats must now decide whether to seek a review of the ruling from a higher court or to advance to an evidentiary hearing to try and make their case for an injunction. They're going to do whatever it takes to stop this audit. And we're already seeing the corporate media out there saying, oh, there's no truth to the claim that the audit is finding voter fraud or irregularities. It's all 100% accurate. You know, are you going to trust the media or your lying eyes? Now, this new judge in the election case, Judge Martin, was picked by another judge and wife of the Maricopa County supervisor. And apparently Bill Gates had a little bit of influence this as well. A lot of people are worried about security around that counting center. It is being protected by the Arizona Rangers. They have just raised an additional $140,000 to continue their protection of the Maricopa County audit. The GOP chair in Arizona, Dr. Kelly Ward, says the Democrats' plan right now is to stall the audit until May 14th, and that is when the lease agreement for the audit with the stadium expires. And at which point, if the lease expires and they haven't finished the audit would be forced to shut down at that point. So again, politics is perception. And I think anybody looking at how the Democrats are behaving right now is going to have the perception they've got something to hide. They really do. Now, Arizona has a history of election fraud, and we put up this flashback story. Back in 2006 in Pima County, investigators found a computer technician exported the election data from voting machines and manipulated it offline, then reloaded it back onto the voting machines to get a desired outcome. So this stuff's been going on for a very, very long time. Up in Wisconsin, 97% of ballots with no ID have been discovered to be fraudulent. Okay. We were talking about this case before the Supreme Court where this student who didn't make the varsity cheerleading squad made a rather vulgar comment about the whole thing on Snapchat. On her own time, in her own home, on the weekend, off the campus, and was punished for it by the school. And it seemed like this would be an open and shut case of saying that schools have no right to police the speech of students when they're not in school, but it looks like the Supreme Court may be wavering on this. And they had 2 hours of arguments conducted by teleconference, and it seemed a majority of the court might find a lower court went too far in deeming off-campus activities by students completely off limits to school officials. And I have a real problem with that, because how can we expect school children to respect the Bill of Rights when they themselves are denied their rights under it? And I think that's really what this comes down to. Getting on to COVID-19 and all that's attendant with that, Tuesday, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed an executive order banning vaccine passports in the state. The order bars all South Dakota government agencies and local municipalities from requiring citizens to carry proof of vaccinations in order to engage in everyday life. And she came on out and said, since the start of the COVID pandemic, we have provided the people of South Dakota with up-to-date science, facts, and data, and trusted them to exercise their personal responsibility to make the best decisions for themselves and their loved ones. So Noem is joining Greg Abbott of Texas, Ron DeSantis of Florida, Greg Gianforte of Montana, Doug Ducey of Arizona, Brad Little of Idaho, and Spencer Cox of Utah, all of which have issued executive orders against vaccine passports. Story coming on out of Natural News, and it starts out talking about how corporate media are continuing the fear-mongering, waving new variants at COVID-19 at us. The original COVID-19 seems to have come and gone and turned out not to be that big a deal. And so now they're talking about the Indian variant and the triple mutation variant, and all of these other variants are coming, keep the fear up as hard as they can. And the Science Daily is calling for a global strategy of maximum suppression. And what that means is they want full enslavement. They're using the illusion of the pandemic to just get us used to the idea of doing as we're told, being in self-isolation so we can't talk with each other about how badly the country is being run, and we're being conditioned to be subservient with all of this. All right. Another story, this one out of Investment Watch blog. Woman takes the Pfizer shot, wakes up paralyzed from the neck down. And it turns out the Pfizer vaccine has problems. And from Pfizer's own documents, we find out if a man who was not vaccinated touches a vaccinated woman or breathes any of the air she breathes, and he then has sex with his wife can have an adverse event, and she should avoid having children. Remember, this is coming from Pfizer itself. If a woman who was never vaccinated gets exposed to a woman who was vaccinated, she can miscarry, spontaneously abort, poison a baby via her breast milk, or have babies that have cognitive difficulties. Nasty, nasty stuff. There's a new term out there, and it's called vaxxidants, and it's basically a growing incidence of automobile accidents caused by people who get the vaccines passing out at the wheel. They just black on out and they plow into a building or in another car. They're bizarre accidents, and they're on an uptick right now. And I'm beginning to understand why when we got our vaccine, they made us sit in our car for 15 minutes before they would let us go. And in keeping with the media fanning the flames, there are fears of the Indian COVID mutant super variant outbreak in Leicester, United Kingdom. So they're out there saying the Indian variant is now out there. And India is definitely having a huge, huge problem with that. Here in Indiana, Governor Eric Holcomb has signed a bill that designates religious activities as essential services. This was Senate Bill 263 that prohibits the state from imposing restrictions on any religious organization that is more restrictive than those imposed on other essential businesses and organizations. This will take effect on the 1st of July. Out in California, following a rebuke from the state Supreme Court, Governor Newsom has scrapped the ban on church singing. This has been in effect for about 10 months now, where you could not sing in church. And if you go to church, you know that singing is a big part of what goes on in there. And so the governor is saying, well, the singing restrictions are strongly recommended, but they are no longer mandatory. All righty. Now, the Pfizer CEO, Albert Bourla, earlier today described Benjamin Netanyahu as obsessive. We have to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the energy cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
Welcome back to our show here, and again, a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network needs your continuing support to go on doing what we're doing. And I want to start out with, an expression of gratitude and thanks for all of those who have been supporting Republic Broadcasting all along. We couldn't do this without you, is really the truth of the matter. But we do need this to go on here. We're fighting the fight for the restoration of the Republic. So if you can help, the postal address for either a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. Now, if you donate more than $100, you will get your choice of an official RBN coffee mug or an official RBN t-shirt. And I understand we're running low on the t-shirts, so if you want one, you have to, move quickly. If you donate $115 or more, you will get both. So include your t-shirt size and a return address when you send in the donation. And don't forget the Frontside Firearms deal that is still going on. Getting on back to the news and COVID-19, Israel managed to secure a sweetheart deal with Pfizer for getting access to the vaccine a little bit ahead of everybody else. And we're finding out now from Pfizer's CEO Albert Bourla that Benjamin Netanyahu basically nagged him into it, calling 30 times to seal the vaccine deal. And speaking with Israel's Channel 12 News, Bourla said he believed it was a question of weeks until kids aged 12, 16 could start receiving the vaccine, but said it's dependent on FDA approval. He also said he believes elementary school students will be eligible for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine by year's end. Well, that's the good news. The bad news is, and this is coming on out of UNS.com, the Israeli People Committee, this is a civilian body made of leading Israeli health experts, has published its April report on the Pfizer vaccine's side effects, and the findings are catastrophic. And their verdict is there has never been a vaccine that has harmed as many people. The report is very long and very detailed, and I think when the Israeli people make the connection between the vaccine injuries and deaths and Benjamin Netanyahu's nagging Pfizer to get that vaccine, I don't think he's going to be winning any more elections, even with the help of Dominion software. Over in Afghanistan, U.S. troops have started leaving Afghanistan, slowly but surely, but they are starting to leave. The Afghan forces themselves are preparing to take on the Taliban without U.S. help, simply because there is no other option. And the Taliban has been gaining ground in Afghanistan for months, even with the presence of U.S. forces. Traveling by road in Afghanistan has never been more dangerous. So CBS News' Charlie DeGatta, in order to interview some of the U.S.-trained Afghan forces, had to be flown there in a military helicopter. So it's very tense out there right now. Story coming on out of the Drive. Observers have spotted F-15E Strike Eagle smart bomb transports are seen hauling munitions around the Middle East. And it didn't take too long for the Air Force's bomb truck F-15 Strike Eagle configuration to appear in this theater. Jets featuring the modified munitions carriage, allowing each to haul up to 15 joint direct attack munitions of various types simultaneously, recently arrived at the CENTCOM area of operations. So they're arming up for something over there. Story coming on out of UNS.com again. Talking about the talks up in Vienna over the Iran nuclear deal, and it looked like maybe something was going to happen, and certainly that's what we were getting out of much of the media. We know that Israel does not want this deal to happen. Joe Biden says he wants it to happen. But they're saying that this Vienna negotiation basically hangs over the Iran nuclear deal, and whether it succeeds or fails in Vienna is going to determine whether or not the deal itself survives in some form or is completely gone. This leads us to another story that came out of a YouTube video in which Israel is now saying they have no choice but to act on their own to stop Iran, which sounds to me like they're getting ready for war. Over in Iran, President Hassan Rouhani claimed yesterday that Israel directed the assassination of former top general Qasem Soleimani, who was killed last year in a U.S. airstrike after arriving in Baghdad. We'll take another break for commercials, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Have you been looking for a trusted long-term storable food company? We have a solution for you. Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our line of resealable fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Our food is completely GMO-free, and our stringent quality controls, plus testing for heavy metals, makes us unique in the storable foods market. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. When you purchase from simplycleanfoods.net, not only will you be receiving high-quality food, but you will also be supporting veterans in need across the country and those who are affected by natural disasters. Right now, Amazon Prime members will receive fast 2-day shipping. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's simplycleanfoods.net. But do it today.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Extendivite's 7-herb formulation is approved to help maintain cardiovascular health and help lower blood lipid levels in adults. Extendivite is made from hawthorn, garlic, valerian, cayenne, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, and milk thistle. The herbs in Extendivite have been chosen for their ability to help with overall health. Many people have reported improved energy and stamina in just a few months. If you think you could feel just a little bit better, then Extendivite may just be for you. Extendivite is an all-natural supplement. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I wanna sail the seven seas.
Welcome back to
I
our
wanna
show
be a
here. We're
pirate.
talking about the international news. Now, over in Israel, Israel is now using drones to drop tear gas on Gaza protesters. And there was an AFP correspondent who saw a drone release around 10 gas canisters at protesters on the border. And obviously, the people scattered when they see the drones approaching. And a police spokesman acknowledged the operational deployment of the new technology. Now, can you imagine how the world would react if Palestine was using drones to drop tear gas on the Israelis? Just to put things in a little bit of perspective. Okay, former State Department official Thomas Nides has emerged as the likely nominee for the next U.S. ambassador to Israel. This according to the Washington Post yesterday, citing several people familiar with White House plans on the matter. And born in 1961 to a Jewish family in Duluth, Minnesota, Nides is a banking executive, and if indeed picked, would bring both government and private sector experience into the post. All righty. Story coming on out of EnglishAlarabi.co. A number of Palestinian political groups have pledged to launch a series of protests if the upcoming Palestinian elections are canceled or postponed for a significant amount of time. The electoral list said in press statement warned that a Supreme Coordination Committee had been formed and will announce on Wednesday a range of political activities from parties and civil society groups if the elections are postponed. Okay. So, over in Taiwan, the island's foreign minister, Joseph Wu, says that China is clearly preparing for its final assault on Taiwan, vowing that we will defend ourselves to the very end. So, a lot of posturing here, and sooner or later, somebody's going to make the mistake that's actually going to kick this war off. All right, let's talk about the economic news here for a little bit. Story coming on out of VidRebel at WordPress.com saying how your $200 grocery bill soon could be $12,000. And they're talking about a confluence of events, supply chain problems, the mega drought in the American West, the fact that American farm companies are exporting more food to other countries than they're making available to American markets. So Bloomberg, Albert Edwards, Deutsche Bank, and several agricultural websites have noted higher food commodity prices spurred by massive Chinese imports from America, which are up 600% for some commodities. So let's all go ahead and blame China for this. And Deutsche Bank has warned us that spiking food prices could cause revolutions in Asia, just as it did in the Arab Spring a few years ago. Well, that wasn't really the cause behind the Arab Spring. Bank stocks soar as the Federal Reserve stimulus continues. Deutsche Bank posts a tremendous fixed income revenue growth because they're getting all that free money dumped on them here. It's not quite the same story over at Boeing. Boeing, as you know, is this iconic American company, and it's painful to see how it has declined in recent years. But crippled by the pandemic, downturn in travel, and also dealing with self-inflicted manufacturing issues on its two, mainline commercial jets, Boeing has had its sixth straight quarterly loss reported as yesterday. And they're saying Boeing's outlook, recovery is gaining traction but remains uneven. I hope they do okay. First of all, they provide a lot of jobs for people at the various Boeing aircraft plants across the country. But again, I don't know about you. I'm getting tired of seeing these iconic American companies just vanish through bad management, overtaxation, overregulation, and it's like our government continues to strangle the goose that's laying the golden eggs. President Biden, in his speech last night, was talking about raising taxes on the rich to balance the budget. The problem with that being there aren't that many rich people in this country when you look at the total population. And some Democrats still don't think that's a really good idea. So his Biden's push to raise taxes on capital gains is running into resistance from fellow Democrats. Now, we had the story the other day that according to IRS records, the Democrats are now the party of the rich. And they're doing quite well, Nancy Pelosi being a good example. And so obviously they would not be on board an increase in capital gains tax or any form of tax on the rich. They would be in favor of more taxes on the middle class and the working class, as always. Something to be aware of right now, that unemployment benefits fraud is soaring during the pandemic. And the article is basically a first-person accounting of how he was notified by the New York State Department of Labor that his name and social security number had been used to file fraudulent claims for unemployment. Now, at this point, with all the hacking and cybercrime going on, unchecked by the U.S. government, I might point out, virtually everybody's social security number and other identifying information are in the hands of the cyber criminals. And it's really starting to cost the nation more than the nation can really afford at this time. But it's something that our government has been loath to deal with. The only time they take action is if somebody breaks into a government computer or a banking computer, but everybody else is kind of fair game at this point. Speaking of computers, and here is an interesting story. This came out of CNN, no less. And it's talking about a gentleman, 31 years old, black man named Najir Parks, who voluntarily went to the Woodbridge Police Department because he received a phone call from his grandmother saying that the police were looking for him. And he said this was all a misunderstanding. He leads a clean life. He had a steady job as a carpenter, and he turned his life around. But apparently, there was a fake, or rather a false positive facial recognition match to a crime scene, and he got arrested. And so it underscores something that I've been saying about those facial recognition systems all along. They're not a 100% verifiable, reliable technology. I remember when they started putting those facial recognition systems in airports to look for terrorists, and they had thousands and thousands of false positives and didn't actually catch any genuine terrorists. Getting on to the gun control issue, Republicans say they're willing to join Democrats to push federal gun confiscation, and they both agreed they're going to pay states to accept it. As you're already aware, several states are out there passing laws saying that federal gun laws will not apply inside their state, so the federal government is basically going to try and bribe them to reverse that and say, yes, whatever the federal government says regarding guns, it will be enforced in all the states. And again, it's kind of ironic. They're using our money to strip us of our Second Amendment rights. And does that sound like good management to you? It certainly does not to me. Getting into the world of political correctness, there's an article that is in Russia Today, and they're responding to this story coming out of Britain about how this university wants to erase the achievements of Sir Isaac Newton because he may have profited from colonial-era activity. And that is really ridiculous. What are they going to replace Newton with? You know, there is no gravity. The Earth sucks. It's this whole cancellation wokeness has just reached ridiculous levels. And, they're saying barbecues are racist, crayons are racist. And I think this is going to work against the Democrats come next year's elections. Because Americans, even Democrats, are turning off from just how extreme this has become. Over in New York City, there is an underground network of parents who are trying to fight the anti-racism, critical race theory, wokeism in New York schools. And apparently they are actually afraid to identify themselves publicly for fear of being called a racist, but more and more are coming forward after Andrew Gutman, the father of a 12-year-old girl at Manhattan's posh Brearley School, wrote a scathing screed to administrators about their anti-racism obsession and went public last week. And again, call me old-fashioned. School should be about skill building, reading, writing, math, science, engineering, yes, the arts and music, things that will allow students to go out and participate in our national, if not global economy. And our schools today are all about indoctrination. And that's why our academic achievement of our students is declining so rapidly compared to the rest of the world. They even declared, accurate answers on math are symbols of white supremacy. I mean, that's how completely out of whack it is. Okay, this next story is a bit of a heartbreaker. And it's something that the transgender community doesn't want you to know about. It's the big, deep, dark secret of how many people go through gender transition, the surgery and the hormones, only to regret it afterwards and wish that they could turn around and come back. So over in Big League Politics, they have this article by this girl saying that she regrets her gender transition, and she's questioning a system that allowed her to make such an obviously ghastly and gruesome mistake. The article was written on the 5th anniversary of her double mastectomy, and she says it's really hit her hard. And the scars are large, and she says she doesn't even want to be in her skin anymore. And we are hearing this from a lot of people who've been convinced that transgender surgery and hormone treatments are going to fix all the problems in their life. And of course, it really doesn't. It just adds a whole new bunch of problems on top of what they already had. Okay, I'm getting through the news faster than I thought I would, so we're going to be opening up the phone lines fairly soon here. They had a big earthquake over in India, magnitude 6, plus a series of aftershocks. The quake struck near the towns of Jikajuli and Tezpur at a depth of 18 miles, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. And the European Mediterranean Seismological Center recorded a depth of 25 miles. And aftershocks have been reported. We're still waiting to find out reports of damage and injuries. And also that swarm of quakes in Lake Tahoe is continuing. And seismologists are very concerned there may be a major event there as well. Getting into the world of computers, Kaspersky, which is a Russian company and therefore not under the influence of the United States, has spotted a new piece of malware. They think it was developed by the CIA, and they detected it in a collection of malware samples studied since February of 2019. And they said the malware shared similarities with past CIA malware, prompting them to track its activity and give it the code name Purple Lambert. And it spies on network traffic and reports the results back to whoever. But the malware contains a certain network module that passively listens to network traffic and searches for a magic packet, which is going to be how it gets its instructions. The CIA's malware can provide the agency with basic information about the system it's infected and can execute a payload it receives. Kaspersky was also the company that concluded the hacker group, the Equation group, was actually NSA. So maybe that's the reason the U.S. government doesn't go after the cyber criminals, because the U.S. government are the cyber criminals. You know, they're the big boys out there. Maybe it's another way of, siphoning money out of the general population. They don't want to raise taxes, so they send out ransomware. Getting into weather, over in Great Britain, they're predicting that April, which is on the edge of being over, will be the coldest in the United Kingdom in the last 60 years. Gosh darn that human-caused global warming. NASA's most powerful rocket has arrived at the Kennedy Space Center by barge. And it is a huge rocket. It is the most powerful built since the Saturn V. The engines are a known technology. They're the same engines that were used on the space shuttles. So that's a known technology. And they're going to launch this rocket and send it out past the moon. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And they're basically taking it over to the vehicle assembly building to be put on a mobile launcher and sent out to the pad. Okay, up on Mars, Ingenuity is flying around. They're getting ready for the 4th test flight, and they're starting to use Ingenuity's camera. They got the first color photo of Mars taken by Ingenuity. In one of them, it's actually captured its own parent, Perseverance. And on this 4th flight, they're going to push the Ingenuity to the edge of its design limits. And once they're done with that and they get a positive result, I guess the real science is going to start, and that is going to be so much fun. Okay. Oh, we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Hey gang, Patrick Slattery here with an important message that is pertinent to anyone who shops for groceries, eats food, or just has an inquisitive mind like myself. What I'm about to introduce you to is a segment of our food culture that has been kept so low profile to the American public that virtually no one is aware of how dominant it is on our refrigerator and cupboard shelves. What I'm talking about is the kosher certification industry and a new app, Koshertified, that delivers a comprehensive education on all aspects regarding this little-known practice. After reviewing this app, I found that it is useful for practically anyone who purchases food, regardless of their religious faith or identity. Its database of products not kosher certified is a win-win convenience for all food-conscious people. So why not check out thekosherquestion.com or click on the link at nationalbugle.com and see how modifying your grocery shopping with the Koshertified app can make a huge difference for your future.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model EZ4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new EZ4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Wall Street wizards on the land from a mental institution claim private retirement funds. Yeah, they are the best solution. But when the markets crash, we'll be asking where's the cash. Guess them folks in D.C. must be smoking Texas hash. Will Congress pay the piper?
Welcome back to our show here, and we're talking about the science news. And China is getting ready to land their own rover on Mars. Now, the Tianwen-1 spaceship successfully entered Martian orbit in February of this year, and they're looking at next month for the rover to actually land on Mars. And it's a very exclusive club because so far only the United States has successfully landed and operated spacecraft on the surface of Mars. Now, Russia came really close back in 1971. They had the Mars 3 mission. It did land on Mars, but it failed after just 2 minutes. And so anytime somebody says Viking was the first, I say, well, not exactly. You know, I have to tip the hat to Russia. They got there, and it was a shame that the spacecraft did die. Anyway, China looks like they're going to get there next month, and I wish them a lot of luck. All righty, we're going to open the phone lines now. Area code 512-248-8252, and we're going to go to Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Just wanted to talk about wokeness, and the election. I'm kind of with you 50-50 on the election fraud. I think definitely there was the media and all these forces that supported Biden. But, you know, I think Trump, he did still win the majority of white people, but he was losing a lot of his support from his more kind of nationalist base and people like that listen to Republic, because the Republicans have their own form of wokeness, and they failed to they're woke for Israel.
I don't see that the Republicans really have their own form of wokeness. I mean, we're not out there demanding that, monuments get taken down and that crayons are racist and that we should forget about Isaac Newton and William Shakespeare.
Well, they failed to protect monuments and like Steve King, who actually just made a mild defense of Western civilization, they kicked him out of the Republican Party. Anti-BDS legislation to me is their, Zionist form of wokeness. I mean, the Republicans are totally in the pocket of Israel.
Well, so are the Democrats.
But I think they're more, the Democrats are more sneaky about it. The Republicans are more out in front about it. But definitely, and that's, this whole move, they call them jignats or whatever, these Zionists, they kind of appeal to white nationalists. There's a term called jignat, I guess, is like a...
No, I had not heard that one.
Top right. Yeah, it's like a over-the-top right-winger, kind of like Trump, where they act like they're, pro-white and politically incorrect.
Okay,
and all this stuff.
Dan, Dan, I got to put you on hold.
Yep.
Don't hang up. We got to take a
Okay.
station identification break, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to the Michael Rivero What Really Happened radio program.
And welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, area code 512-248-8252. We're talking with Dan in Washington State. We're talking about wokeness. We're talking about election fraud. And as far as the election fraud goes, I think the sheer ferocity with which the Democrats are opposing recounts everywhere, not just Maricopa, but they're out there playing every political, legal trick they can. I think that's sending the message that, yes, there was something very wrong with last November's election.
There could be, and I don't doubt there was. But if you look at the amount of white people, working class whites, that the Republicans made mad, that they failed to appeal to in the election. Trump.
Okay, well, Dan. Common sense is going to tell you if there wasn't election fraud last November, we wouldn't be seeing this three-ring circus of the Democrats trying to prevent anybody from taking a look. And again, getting on back to Arizona, you had the fact that nobody showed up. Nobody showed up for Biden and Harris rallies, and Trump's rally just was a sellout house.
That doesn't show that much. I mean, the rally, there's certain types of people that go to rallies. The Democrats are more watching stuff on TV. But look at this, Chris Christie.
Well, wait a minute. I remember back when Obama was running for president, and the Democrats showed up, in huge crowds to support him.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Crowds don't. I mean, like Chris Christie said, where's the actual proof of election fraud?
Well, every time somebody has wanted to look for the proof of election fraud, the Democrats pull some legal trick to try and prevent it from happening. The fact is that none of the evidence has actually seen a courtroom yet. Even the Supreme Court refused to look at the evidence. So the evidence may well be out there. The evidence is out there. It's just officially being ignored by justices hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's not the Democrats. It's the Republicans as well. It's the Supreme Court as well. So,
well, I think it's the system as a whole doesn't want the American people realizing the election was that stolen, or everybody is going to stop obeying orders. They're going to stop paying taxes. They're going to stop letting their children go off to be killed and crippled in all of these wars.
Well, I mean, Trump was about to start war with Iran. So, I mean,
well, look at how close we are to war with China and Iran right now. Not to mention
I
Russia.
don't- Well, okay, look, the Republicans didn't support Trump. Just like, and I wanted to say something else. Elizabeth Warren is the only one actually sticking up for these Capitol protesters that are being beaten in jail.
Yeah.
And I like John Kerry running things more than...
Well, Kerry's in a lot of hot water after giving Israel's military secrets to Iran, so he may be retiring very soon.
Well, the point that's a big issue shows you how much Zionist, how the Republican Party is basically the Likud party of Israel. Why are we against Kerry trying to make a deal with Iran so there's not war?
Well, if he was acting within U.S. policy, that would be one thing. But I think the scandal is that he kind of went out, he went off the reservation on his own, and I think that's the real problem.
Well, it's not a problem for me.
Well, no, I understand that. Apparently, election fraud isn't a problem for you as well. Anyway, Dan, we got callers piling up on the line, so thank you very much. And we're going to switch to Joe in Nome. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Ouch, my balls. Yeah. The earthquake underneath Anchorage, what the heck, just the other day, or 27th, it was a 4.5, and my sister felt it all the way up until Keatna.
Well, having spent a lot of my life in Southern California, 4.5 just isn't that big a deal. I don't really pay attention until it hits 6.
Yeah, well, I was, going to tweet out to all the trannies out there. They can go down to Earthquake Park and find the young, good-looking fetal alcohol syndrome native girls.
Okay.
For the next one, yeah. But anyway, the K-129, I knew it as Azorian.
Mm-hmm.
You call it Clementine. I guess that was the name of the claw.
Well, that was the name of the operation that funded the Glomar Explorer and the Claw. Was Operation Clementine, and they spent a lot of money, and all they got for all their trouble was some twisted pieces of pipe because the Claw broke off when they were bringing part of the submarine back up, and they only got a little bit of it. And they tried to make it look like that was worth all the money, but it really actually was a huge embarrassment for the CIA.
Wait a second. The only reason you know anything about that is because the Russians knew about it. That they weren't looking for the K-129. They were looking for two U.S. submarines. And you know what they were looking for?
Are you talking about the Scorpion and the Thresher?
I'm not exactly sure because, like I say, my information is coming from the other side of the water there.
Okay.
But anyway, a report I read was that they found the K-129 by accident.
No, it was not by accident. There was a definite search for it using a modified Regulus launching submarine called the Halibut, and they took the Regulus missiles out of it because they were now obsolete, and they basically put this very deep diving TV camera on it. And they were able to cruise around over the wreck site submerged so that nobody knew what they were doing. And I know this because there was this guy, Dr. John Craven, who was one of the designers of that camera system, and he later wrote a book about the submarines and about how the K-129 was found. And then when I was living on Oahu, I had the very great pleasure of meeting and becoming friends with him.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big wow.
What I was going to bring up was the HARP facility we got here, which was also originally Russian technology. They were ahead of that. And what it's, had a oil company a patent. and one of the uses for it was ground-penetrating tomography. And this would include, ocean tomography as well.
I don't know how deeply the HARP would penetrate water given the frequency range that it operated in. My understanding is that the HARP facility and the ones like it are intended to be over-the-horizon radar systems to be brought online in the event our surveillance satellites are shot down, which is going to be the first thing that happens in World War III.
Well, the location of Gacona is obviously quite a ways away from the water, and but not only can you, one of the uses that was stated that they were hoping to use it for was communication with submarines.
No, that's the VLF and ELF systems, and there's one located in Maine and there's one located on the island of Oahu, and we actually shot an episode of Lost literally next door to that ELF station. Huge antennas.
Well, so what year?
We were filming Lost back in the 1990s, and another very interesting location that we had in the show, it was called the Hydra Station, was the remains of an earlier version of ELF that was located in Haiku Valley. It's very ultra-low radio waves, and this thing could listen to communicate with submarines all the way to the shores of Asia. Submerged submarines, and was an amazing piece of equipment. A lot had been stripped out, but the coil forms were still there, and the racks of equipment were still there, and there was a lot of photographs. And I understand that a lot of the veterans who worked there were trying to build a museum about what that facility had been used for. And when Lost finally ended the production, I succeeded in talking the producers into donating some of the equipment that we had purchased from that station, to the museum. So hopefully they've done something with that.
Yeah. I got approached about salvaging some historical towers out here, but east of Poker Flats, up in Circle, that's the other side of Central.
Yeah.
Hello, Central. But I think they had an ELF array there, and I think it was buried.
Yeah, there was one that was buried in the upper part of the United States. I forget exactly where. And I understand that the TACAMO aircraft can actually trail a mile-long wire antenna and also engage in ELF communications with submerged submarines.
Do you remember the night Obama got his Nobel Prize? What happened?
Yes, I remember. I was laughing about that one.
Well, guess what? Either we had the same thing in Gacona, not on the same date, but something that I witnessed, and it was no rocket launch. It was a double helix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you heard of sprites, right?
I've heard of what?
Sprite.
Yes, sprites, red sprites, and it's associated with positive lightning strikes.
Oh, well, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and ball lightning, too. But,
yes.
So, anyway, a double helix of green arising. I was in Eagle River at a telescope, and I was looking for a comet. I don't know, Hikataki or something like that. And I looked east, and it went right over my head, over Anchorage, and people down in Homer saw it. But what they saw was totally different than by the time it got to Homer, it was merely attenuated into more or less straight arcs going across the sky.
Well, the helix can be explained. There was actually an incident over Europe some years ago where there was a nighttime rocket launch and the rocket malfunctioned and began to tumble, but the rocket exhaust kept coming on out, and it literally created this gigantic spiral in the sky that obviously everybody noticed and wondered what the heck was that. And it sounds to me like you may have seen something similar, rocket tests that went awry.
Okay. Well, where that in Obama's case, where that originated from was Trump's own Norway. So if it was a rocket launch, it was Norway launching it. Okay?
Yeah, well, actually, it was over Norway that
That's
this spiral
story, and it ain't gonna fly.
event took place, I think.
It wasn't anybody that saw it in Alaska that mistook it for a rocket, and there was no report of any rocket launches going off. A rocket, well, Poker Flats is, but this didn't come from Poker Flats. It came from Gacona.
Okay.
And so it was hard. Anyway, yeah, I'm getting less cynical because things are getting so exciting now.
Well, things like that are exciting. Anyway, Joe, the phone lines are loading up here. We're going to let you go and switch to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Tom, are you there? Okay, looks like...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tom?
Mike?
There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, Mike, thank you. Listen, here's what's going on with me today. I'm a little perplexed. I listened to Dan from Washington. He makes a little sense, but, Mike, hearing what's going on with this Pig Pelosi yesterday at that speech with bumbling buffoonery with her mask on, she didn't go have no mask and she's going to get her hair done.
Yes.
In San Francisco. But she's over there acting like, the COVID virus is going to kill us all. I mean, this is insanity, Mike. But you got the Pig Pelosi, you got that Mad Maxine, racist Louis Farrakhan-loving mad woman.
Yeah.
If that had been a white woman with David Dukes, it would have been all over the news and every major network we're talking about. Or if Trump had a picture of David Duke and him hugging each other, it would have been all over the news for years. Now, here, Mike, here's what's really going on now.
Okay.
I called the show earlier today, Mike, and I'm going to tell you what's going on, and I'll help you, everybody in your audience understands what I'm going to say. Ted Nugent is a great rock and roller.
Yes.
He's the top 10 guitarist players in the world, in my book. Ebony Boy Dukes, damn Yankees, the Nuge. This guy had COVID-19 a week ago, and he almost died. He had a big thing on Breitbart and Drudge. Even Sludge, I looked at the Jew Report and Judge was talking about it. Now, Nugent almost died last week from COVID. He's gotten better.
Good.
Ted Nugent basically said he's got over 300,000 emails of Wiccans putting curses on him, wanting him dead. The same thing they did to Donald Trump. When Donald Trump took the cocktail, 2 days before he got when he had the COVID, they were all these Democrats and these Wiccans are wanting him dead. The President of the United States are wishing death on him through Wiccanry, voodoo, black magic, whatever the hell these satanic, Luciferian, satanic, devil-worshipping worshipers. I didn't realize, Mike, there's over 500,000 of these, or maybe close to 2 million, according to what Ted's basically saying. There's almost 2 million Wiccans in the United States doing witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if we're looking at this witchcraft, all these white women and all these white men in these blue states are part of that. Is that what I'm hearing, Mike?
No, I don't think so because, first of all, we don't know if these so-called Wiccan emails were being forged There has been a lot of that, to go along. As far as the Wiccans, to me, they don't strike me as the kind to talk about curses and whatnot. And so I think somebody is trying to pull a fast one here. But even if it's 2 million people who are practicing witches in the United States against a population of 300 million, again, that's just a tiny percentage.
Well, I agree, Mike, and I'm not making accusations, but what I'm saying is, you just said it right there. There's hundreds of millions of Christians in this country, and I know they're not going to tolerate that. But the narrative that the media plays out is, oh, the blue states, the red states, the blue states. Oh, the white women, the white men got to vote for Democrats because they give more. What are they giving? So what are they really giving, Mike? Totally illegal invasion of our country. We're going to hear about voodoo, witchcraft, Wiccanry. I mean,
maybe
what
that's the next divide
here?
and conquer. They've taken black against white about as far as they can go. Maybe they're going to start trying to get the Christians riled up against non-Christians. The whole Muslim thing is burning out. So, let's bring back the witch hunts, and have the fires burning and get them all riled up that way.
Well, that's a great point there, Mike, because I was thinking basically the same thing you're thinking right now. I was like saying, wait a minute, this is going to be their new narrative. Now it's going to be the Christians against Wiccanry.
Yes.
Or voodooism or whatever you call it. Want to call it demonic spirits. It's just, we heard this, Mike, on the media that even back, Mike, they were talking about Donald Trump should die. The president of the United States, well, he's got COVID, he's going to die.
Well, look, every group, whether it's Wiccan or Christian or black or white, they've got their nutcases that want a lot of attention and say outrageous things. Anyway, Tom, we got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials.
Yeah, Mike, one more thing, Mike.
No,
Mike,
not one more thing, not today. Good night,
dead.
and we'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
Thank you.
I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
Forced to carry his own cross while we drive nails in his coffin. You might say it is routine. It happens far too often. A decorated soldier, veteran of the war. Who would have thought that he would be among the sick and poor? A preacher man wags his head.
And welcome back to our show here, and I just got a great email. It says, if anyone, not just Wiccans, wishing people were dead were really that powerful, we wouldn't have the overpopulation situation Bill Gates seems to be so worried about. Absolutely good point there. We're going to go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what do you say, Mike? Hey, Mike, I just want to answer with Dan, okay, in Washington. There is no doubt, 100%, no doubt that this election was stolen, okay? And I'm not a big supporter. I'm not. You remember that, and I used to get into it with a bunch of your other callers. I was never a great Trump supporter or anything, but I had a lot of problems with him. But I knew that he was still 1,000 times better than this imposter that's in the White House now. And I knew once this imposter, if he managed to get in, he would do just the kind of crap he's doing.
Yes.
So, it doesn't surprise me. And again, when they talk about these woke people, so-called woke, they're not woke. I wish people would stop calling them woke. You know who's woke? Us red-pilled people. Us truthers, we're woke. We understand the BS we're being fed time and time again by the corporate media and by the crooked government. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're the woke people. Not them. They're anything but woke. They're sheep. That's all they are. They're like sheep. They follow. And another thing too, with this race thing, okay?
Yes.
I don't know what the deal is with what they said to Ted Nugent or nothing like that, but the enemy wants us divided. They want us to fight among each other. When I was a little kid,
absolutely, you've got it right.
I wouldn't do this anymore because I'm, but when I was a little kid, I didn't know better, and I used to find these like ants, like red and black ants.
Yes.
And get them together and get them to fight each other. I think it was. I realize now it's a terrible thing to do. I respect nature. I respect animals, and as long as they stay out of the house, I try not to kill ants or any.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I used to do, and this is the way the enemy looks at us. When I say the enemy, I mean the globalist, elitist enemy, starting with the Bill Gateses and the Klaus Schwab. Like we're the little ants, and they're playing with us. And that's what they're doing with this race stuff. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, this thing about Nugent, I knew he had the virus, okay?
Yes.
I didn't know. Was it really that bad? Was he close to dying, or is that just nonsense? Because he's a pretty
I don't
guy.
really know for a fact, but it did sound like it was serious.
Where did that come from? I mean, who said that? He said himself, or his family, or did this come from the corporate media?
It came basically, I think, more from Ted Nugent himself on social media.
He said he was real sick?
I personally do not know what he said because I don't really spend that much time on social media.
I'm just trying to figure out whether there's really something to COVID-19 or it's just something that's made up.
Well, I think it's the seasonal flu. I think it's the normal seasonal flu, and they just renamed it, for this fear-mongering booga booga. I mean, there is something going around that is making people sick, and actually killing people. But if you look at the actual numbers, they line up with the normal expected illnesses and deaths from the seasonal flu.
I mean, I had the flu real bad years ago. I haven't had it like over 20 years. But I've had it real bad, including like when I was in my 20s.
Yes.
And I remember having like 103.9 fever, and one time I was actually out of work for a week and a half, about a week and a half. Okay, I mean, the only thing I could do at that time, I was living in New York City at the time, in the Bronx.
Yes.
The only thing I could barely do was go. I had a German Shepherd at the time, and take him for walks because it's not like I had a yard or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's about all I could do. Other than that, go back to bed. So you talk about feeling, I guess you could say you feel in death's door with a flu like that, but it doesn't mean it's going to really kill you. And normally you get out, eat a drink, you eat some chicken soup, a lot of orange juice, a lot of liquids. That time I didn't know as much about nutrition as I know now. Probably I haven't gotten a flu in a lot of years now because I know a lot more about nutrition.
Well, probably your body built up antibodies to the flu from that one serious one you had, so your immune system is doing its job. I mean, I haven't had the flu. I actually don't remember the last time I had a flu.
And I've changed my diet since then too. I eat lots of fruits, lots of vegetables. Lots of stuff loaded with vitamin C, vitamin D, D3, fish oil, and all that. So I think that might have, plus I do a lot of exercise. I'm constantly exercising. So that might have, I get a lot of sun now too, so that might have something to do with it. But, because I'm just thinking, was he really that sick that he was in death's door, or did he just feel real lousy? You know what I mean? And think that's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's almost irrelevant to the idea that, he drew some criticism on social media, which was completely unwarranted for somebody who was sick. Anyway, Mark, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We have some lines open. Area code 512-248-8252. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Welcome back to our show here, and one of our listeners just emailed me an article from Rolling Stone, no less, in which they're talking about Ted Nugent having COVID-19, and they quote him as saying, "I have never been so sick in all my life." So I guess that's where that all originated. We're going to go back to the phones here to Marco in Alabama. Hello, Marco. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
All right. I want to touch on a couple points.
Okay.
One, yesterday, I didn't get enough time, to speak because we were at the deadline.
Yes.
What I was advocating for is that it is more important now, to know who your congressional candidates are, who your mayors are, who your sheriff is, because where do you guys think, these anti-New World Order candidates, dude, are going to start? And all that stuff. I mean, the states' rights, a lot of times, dude, are totally embedded into the Constitution.
Yes.
And they have a lot of power, and we're going to have to fight everything state by state, city by city, town by town, because in all reality, we know, dude, that our elections on the national level, dude, the social contract was broken, like I was sitting there telling you yesterday.
Yes.
That our elections are rigged. There's no understanding about that. That's one thing that I just wanted to say for yesterday. Tom in Florida, Tom, I am a Christian, but my wife is pagan. She is Wiccan. And there are Wiccan conservatives. The people who own, the spiritual bookstores and all that stuff, and in the most cases are not going with this leftist agenda. Tyranny is tyranny, no matter what faith you are. And in some ways, the pagan religion was around before Christianity. I mean, when you come to think about it, one of the Caesars of Rome was a pagan, and until he died, he became a Christian at death.
And we're not even sure he wanted that. You're talking about Constantine, where they basically, claimed they baptized him literally on his deathbed when he couldn't fight back.
Yes. And then also another thing is this, is that even in the Wiccan faith, we are being invaded by Satanists. Just like the Christian faith is being invaded by Satanists. Satanists in the Catholic Church, Satanists in the Lutheran Church. That's what we're really facing. When you see, a lot of these people, dude, that are, wishing death upon Donald Trump, these are Satanists. Mm-hmm. These are not, Wiccan people. These are not, pagan people and things like that. The paganism and Wiccanism, dude, is really just the original tribal religion of ancient Germania and the Czech Republic and Western France and all that. I mean, it was there before Christianity.
Yes.
And things like that. Long story. And then another thing is this: the gentleman, dude, from Washington. There are things, dude, that I agree with you, dude. I mean, because we, as Judeo-Christians, we, as any other faith, have to be aware of the Chabad Lubavitch. And for those that don't understand that, that is the Zionist government, dude, that everyone keeps talking about here on RBN and things like that. They have an end-time scenario where they dupe, dude, the Christians, dude, into slavery, just like the Muslims would want, the Christians into slavery and the Jews into slavery. All of the Zionist end-time prophecies, dude, are bad for humanity, period. But I just wanted to clarify, a few things because, there are Wiccan conservatives, women do and men do who own businesses, and sell pagan goods. They understand capitalism. Tyranny is tyranny, no matter how you guys look at it. And I just wanted to make that clear because, it's like, I'm Christian, but my wife is Wiccan and all that stuff. And I grew up in a Wiccan home and things like that. But, the whole thing is this, is when you have good morals and you have good values and you don't wish harm due upon your fellow human being, these people are Satanists, you guys. You guys got to understand this. Our country has been invaded by Satanists. Other than that, Michael, I wish you a good and good weekend to all of you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch to James in Ohio. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, I have admired your video about all wars are bankers' wars for a long time.
Thank you.
My own brother was chairman of Wachovia back in 2008 when the whole thing collapsed. You're in southern Indiana, as I recall. Is that right?
The town of Santa Claus.
If you or Claire or any of your neighbors have the time to listen to a conference call, I'll give you a phone number and access code for this evening if you want to listen.
Well, I'm kind of booked for the evening. I'm sorry. I have something to go to as soon as the radio show's over.
That's fine. I mean, this is for any Thursday. This has been a weekly event for the last 2 or 3 years. I'll give you the phone number if you're interested.
Well, okay. Go ahead.
This is, say 8:58 or go to 9 o'clock, but that's when the program starts. 712-770-4160. Do you want to read it?
No, I'm. Would you repeat it and I'll write it down?
Thank you. 712-770-4160.
Okay, I got it that time. And you said there's an access code?
226-823 #.
All righty. Well, I can't do anything this Thursday, but I'll certainly try next Thursday, and thank you for the phone call. We're going to go to Joe in California. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Joe in California, are you there? Okay, well, then let's skip over.
I blew up the lines. I lost all my callers.
I'm sorry, Joe, are you there?
No, I blew up all the lines and lost the callers. I had somebody calling in. Give me a second.
Okay, we've had a problem with our little phone system. If you were on hold, please call back in 512-248-8252. And while we're getting that sorted out,
Joe's here.
Indonesia's Mount Sinabung volcano has sent a cloud of hot ash up to 5 kilometers into the air. So they're definitely getting rocking and rolling over there. Okay, Joe in California is back. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I would like to start off by saying that Trump won the election, and if he didn't, they wouldn't be fighting as hard as they are.
Yes.
When the president can't get a day in court because the Supreme Court is pre-biased in favor of Democrats or deep state or shadow government or anyone learning the truth, I think eventually all of the stuff is going to come out where the Bidens and the Pelosi's and others are all connected to Ukraine along with the other Hillary's.
I think the issue is even more fundamental than that. I think the reason the Supreme Court refused to take the cases regarding fraud is if the American people really start becoming aware that last November's election was a total fake, then the government loses all legitimacy, and people aren't going to obey the government's orders regarding masks and social distancing. They're going to stop paying taxes. They're going to stop sending their children to be killed and crippled in all these wars. This could bring the entire government crashing down, which at this point I think would probably be a good thing. But I think that's why everybody, even Biden's worst enemies, are fighting to keep the theft of the election hidden from the majority of the American people. But I don't think they're succeeding, because pretty much everybody I've talked to is saying, yeah, last year's election was completely a fiction.
Yeah, my point is even though the public is awake and they know the elections are rigged, the Democrats still don't want it changed back to where Trump is the winner. The Ukraine issue is an issue, regardless of whether Hunter Biden wants to start a fake news program or not. Pelosi is involved in it. Hillary is involved in it. All of these people who've been in Washington for half a century and on $90,000 a year jobs, they're able to become billionaires. There's something going on, and it's coming to the point where everyone is going to put a stop to it. I know the Constitution clearly states that instead of having to fire a single shot, the public has the power under the Constitution to throw off the people who have taken over and corrupted it.
Well, that's the Declaration of Independence, and it's the same thing. I think when, there's still a lot of Americans who want the election to be honest because they don't want to have to deal with the consequences. And on the day when they can't avoid looking at the fact that the government, our country got stolen from us last November, I think you're going to see a lot of anger, and you're going to see protests marching on Washington, D.C. That's going to make January 6th look like a springtime picnic.
Yeah, my point being that when the taxpayer money is wasted while they try to cover it up, because in the book Shadow Party, it does clearly state the agenda and it lays out everything the way it's been played out.
Yes.
We all know that the elections are a product to be sold to the highest bidder.
Yes.
And Biden is guilty, and the dead Americans all the way back to the group of people that supposedly did the Osama bin Laden raid and then killed themselves all in a helicopter the day after so they couldn't be heard. It's all a cover-up. The other thing I would like to say is if Fauci wasn't involved with the Wuhan virus made in Fort Detrick and then taking it to China so it could be CRISPR'd and then accelerated, and Gates and everybody getting rich and Pelosi and Feinstein selling off all of their stock just before this goes that way or that goes this way,
there's a big insider trading problem in Congress, and it's all illegal, and again, nobody does anything about it.
Yes, but the people are guilty. And when Judy Mikovits tried to go public when she realized the stuff was tainted, they smeared and ruined her.
Yes.
And prior to smearing her, she was the top person in her field, and Fauci hired her because she was so good. And then when she saw what was going wrong and she spoke up, suddenly she was the bad guy, and her house had to be no-knock rated, and all of her laptops had to be taken. That's the thing you see with everyone, whether it's Rudy Giuliani or anybody. Next thing you know, if you're not,
it's just like the old Soviet Union.
We're concerned today about us, and the public is to the point where it's ready to come to a head, and everyone knows what's going on, but these people in power have so much power and they're so well organized that it's just unbelievable. That, and I know everyone says the Democrats are idiots and they don't know anything, but it's the exact opposite. And you can't just call them Democrats, because this well-organized group that's been in Washington for half a century is getting rich off taxpayer money, and then when the people try to speak out, they use the taxpayer-funded judges and the courts and more taxpayer money to hide and cover it up and lose the hard drives.
Yeah, they do. Well, look at that story earlier in the day. They're going to use our money to try and suppress our Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, but it says that if everyone looks up the definition of infringe, you'll clearly see that it says that it's any time where someone obstructs the Constitution, rights, or laws, you can't infringe in any way, shape, or form, and that's why it's there.
Yeah, well, our government has declared its independence from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And I'm not surprised that schools aren't really teaching that to our kids anymore. A lot of kids are coming out of school. They really don't know what the Bill of Rights is all about.
Yeah, but Rockefeller took over the education, the thing at the federal level, and he wanted it his way. Rockefeller quote is, "I do not want my nation to be full of thinkers. I want my nation to be full of workers."
Yes.
And nobody elected Rockefeller. No one elected Gates. And these people who are like Soros, who they just buy and sell nations as they see fit. And I think they got their comeuppance, and right now they're in a panic. And I think that the House of Cards is very close to coming down. Everybody, including your listeners, are aware of this.
Yes.
And I think that the Wuhan virus is the magic kill-all thing that Zbigniew Brzezinski quoted. He said, "Today it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people."
Yes.
And our nation is worth saving. So many people died because of the flag, and our nation had built this nation and wrote the Constitution so that we wouldn't be slaves anymore. And the nation is worth saving, and the American people.
I agree. I want to restore
together.
the republic.
And they want everyone to put a mask on and be like in fear and the War of the Worlds. And if you don't do what we say, we can sprinkle some Wuhan dust on you and you'll get a really bad cold. And then they'll say that, you don't know if it's them killing you off. And I'm just rattling on here. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you very much for the phone call. The phone lines are open, 512-248-8252. We're going to go to Bruce in Texas. Hello, Bruce. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes. Hello, Mike. I think it was yesterday you brought up the cesium that wasn't actually an element until after the nuclear testing and explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
No, it's always been an element. It just wasn't really available in any kind of volume prior to the nuclear age. But it's always been there on the periodic table.
Oh, it has. Okay, my mistake then. This is kind of interesting. Did you know that that's how counterfeit wines are detected now?
No, I did not know that. I didn't even know there was a problem with counterfeit wines.
Yes, there's some collectible wines. Like, for instance, there was one wine bottle that was allegedly, very artfully made, just like counterfeit art,
Yes.
Someone with a Harley-Davidson. And, it looked just like something that maybe would have been made at the time of Thomas Jefferson, and someone paid a lot of money for it. And they tested the wine, and actually there was cesium in the wine, which
that would be a dead giveaway.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. All I know about, Claire's the wine expert in the house. All I know about wines is not to drink the ones that come in cardboard boxes.
Some people drink too much of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to hit something up in your email, so keep an eye for it. It'll be a PDF, and it'll be under my name.
All right, well, thanks an awful lot. We got to take a commercial break here, 512-248-8252, and we will be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
For over 20 years now, Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here is a testimonial from Amazon.com. I received an arterial switch at birth. In my mid-20s, I started getting slight runs of NSVT. Nothing too serious, but enough to cause worry. I started taking Extendivite a little over 2 years ago, and it helped cut the palpitations and NSVT down drastically. This isn't a cure-all supplement. I strongly recommend a good diet and exercise to aid in any heart troubles you may be having, and I strongly recommend giving Extendivite a try. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Have you been looking for a trusted long-term storable food company? We have a solution for you. Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our line of resealable fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Our food is completely GMO-free, and our stringent quality controls, plus testing for heavy metals, makes us unique in the storable foods market. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. When you purchase from simplycleanfoods.net, not only will you be receiving high-quality food, but you will also be supporting veterans in need across the country and those who are affected by natural disasters. Right now, Amazon Prime members will receive fast 2-day shipping. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's simplycleanfoods.net. But do it today.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on.
And welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today, and we're going to go to Angel in New York City. Hello, Angel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing? You lived in North Hollywood, right?
I did for a while, yes.
Yeah, I lived on Lancashire and Sherman Way, 7300 at the Valet Chateau from 74 to 76. Are you familiar with those?
Boy, it's been a long time, and it doesn't ring a bell.
But I know you're familiar with Lancashire and Sherman Way, right?
Yeah, I was just off Lancashire.
Oh, I lived at 7300 Lancashire Boulevard. Yeah, that's all. I just want to know, just kind of bring back memories. Oh, okay. You take care.
All right. Yeah, I lived on Otsego, just off of Lancashire. I was within walking distance of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and it was a cool neighborhood until the druggies moved in, and then things got really kind of ugly. Thank you for the phone call, and we're going to get some more news in here before the end of the program. Rather interesting story coming out of the Daily Mail. Scientists have determined that household aerosols now release more harmful volatile organic compounds than all the cars in Great Britain. And they said in 2017, the UK population emitted around 60,000 tons of volatile organic compounds from aerosols, but only around 30,000 tons from UK cars. So it's the spray deodorants and cleaning sprays are actually causing more damage to the environment than your cars are. And that's a little interesting story there. There's a big stink going on down in Florida, and it's been building for a while. There is an experiment where they're going to release 1 billion, with a B, genetically engineered mosquitoes in the Florida Keys. And the idea is that these mosquitoes will breed with disease-carrying mosquitoes but not reproduce, and so the disease-carrying mosquitoes will go extinct, maybe, unless they've made a horrible mistake. So the Florida Keys Mosquito Control District and Oxitec, which is a British biotech company, are starting the first ever U.S. release of these genetically engineered mosquitoes this week. And the project aims to reduce the number of several mosquito species that carry diseases including dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, and yellow fever. I actually had dengue when I lived in Hawaii. It was very, very minor. Most people who get dengue, they don't even develop symptoms. The rest get kind of flu-like diseases. Only a tiny percentage go full hemorrhagic and fatality. Okay, we're coming up here on the end of the program, and stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting far and wide. Same thing with whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. Republic Broadcasting really does need your help right now. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.